Okay, so yeah, basically let's start. Welcome you all to our podcast slash interview. This is the first time we're doing such format. Hopefully, guys, you'll like it. So our guest today here is Cesare Pesci. Basically, he's a guy experienced in sales, investment banking, and consulting. But I'd rather hear from Cesare about yourself. So, I've seen your portfolio, and it says a lot. So, could you tell us a bit about yourself, basically? So, how did you start your journey in investment in tech entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. I am, so as you said, my name is Cesare Pesci. I am a senior associate at YOBE Ventures, which is a Miami-based VC venture capital. I'm myself based in Copenhagen, in Denmark. I was born and raised in Italy, so I'm from Italy. I'm also from France on my mother side. And I started, at the beginning, I was very interested in politics. For example, I can just tell you a short story about it. When we were kids, when we were like 7, 8, I remember in Rome, my teacher, they always ask you what you want to do when you grow up and, stuff like that. And everybody want to be I don't know, a policeman, a firefighter, or this kind of stuff. Soccer player. I mean, we call it football player, but in the US we call it soccer. Football player. And when she asked me, I said, I want to become the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So she looked at me and she was like, I don't know if you're a genius or if you're a complete retard. But I was really into politics. But then I started to shift to investment after watching, Shark Tank and reading books like Thinking Fast and Slow, Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, The Black Swan, The Price of Time, Only the Power Not Survive, and then many other books. Because I realized that investing is equal to shaping and changing the world, because we live in a society where basically, and this is not a criticism, but we live in a society where it's money that brings change. So for me, investing means changing the world, and if you can do it right, you can change it for the better. And I also realized that investing in people is really good. It's much better, because I'm a number guy. I'm a people guy. So I really like, investing in young people.
Pretty rich experience, and you've lived, studied, and worked in various countries, as I see. So basically, how does this shape your view, global investments and interactions with founders?
Yeah. So basically, each country has taught me unique lessons that shape how I approach opportunities and challenges in the world of venture capital. For instance, living in Italy exposed me to the importance of creativity, passion, the human element. But the UK, sharpened my strategic thinking. And Denmark emphasized the importance of sustainability and, collaborative leadership. So besides just shaping my investment lens, this international exposure has helped me build, great relationship with founders from various diverse backgrounds. Whether I'm talking to a French entrepreneur, launching an AI startup, or a Danish founder focusing on green energy, I can connect on a deeper level because I understand the cultural context.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of feel this vibe when you basically know people, know their background, know their cultural differences, because sometimes people just don't pay attention to that, to their cultural aspects. They just, see the money and they rush in, but basically there is, people inside it with their own decisions, with their own backgrounds, and that's something you're gonna count with it as well. And basically, how do you search for unique projects? So what makes a project unique to you when you're browsing for the next investment?
So for me, it's mainly about the founder, because in the end, he or she is the real unique element, because most of the time the same idea has probably been created somewhere else. There are competitors as well in the same area, but the founder is really the unique element, because each individual is unique. We know at YOBE Ventures, for instance, we look at the management team, their experience. We really like serial entrepreneurs, since they know the pain of starting a venture and how to do it. They know it's tough and they've been there already.
Okay, gotcha. So I got some info while preparing for this interview. So you've invested over $10.3 million and also helped raise over $70 million. So could you share some projects that had the greater impact on your entire career?
Yeah, for sure. I would say on real estate, it's definitely one of them. It's a PropTech company, so real estate tech. By the way, the founder, Kyle Stoner, is a brilliant guy. The company is based in Chicago. He's a brilliant guy. Very nice. Just to give you some context on the company, so again, it's a PropTech company. It enables people to buy, sell, or rent homes without paying like high commissions, so high realtor fees. They can do that because they have like a flat fee online marketplace. That also provides direct access to the multiple listing service, so the MLS. We invested in this company with YOBE Ventures, and I managed to have a brilliant relationship with Kyle, with the founder, and I helped him a lot with the financials, with the pitch deck, and I found him, an angel investor that knows about the industry, so very, very smart money, and a great family office that also very smart money, so they're helping him day to day, and that was definitely great because, of course, great for the company because the way they went from burning cash to building cash at some point because of these connections that I introduced, and it was very much rewarding. By the way, I think they're raising for the pre-series A. Then there is another company called Aptivio that will soon be rebranded as Boon AI, and it's more like B2B AI SaaS. So they're basically replacing SDRs, AI SDRs. The founder is French, Guy Mounier. The company is based in New York, and he's a super great guy. And I gave him plenty of nice intros to venture capitals. I'm advising the company and personally advising the company on their pre-series B. They're going to start soon. Overall, I would say that I'm a pretty good consultant. What I mean by that? I mean that I advise all these companies to change their structures, to make the workflow faster and easier. Some of them also rebranded after my advice. I'm an executor, so if I analyze and execute, so when I see a problem, I'll solve it.
So basically, there are more functions to you than just an investor. Basically, you work in multiple areas.
Exactly. We want to be sorry to interrupt you, but it's really about like smart money.
But besides my financial metrics, when you see a project like an early stage startup, what are your next steps? So what is your approach to early stage startups, and what areas are particularly interesting to you?
Very simple. Of course, the industry, because you have industries that are dying. So of course the industries, because I read a paper, like a scientific paper, that said that it's best to have a bad company in a growing industry than the opposite. Because if it's a growing industry anyways, the company can have a higher chance to do well, while a super great company in an industry that's dying, the industry is dying anyways, so the company is dying with it. But also, it's mostly the founder again, so I've said that earlier, but the management team, what clients say about you, what your competitors say about you as well. Are you a tough competitor, or are you just here to be on the slides?
That's kind of interesting approach and kind of logical, I say. So you actually work with AI, tech, and like growing equity. But are there any growing areas that are kind of under the radar right now? So how do you see new upcoming industries emerging? What are the new areas that are going to emerge in this year, maybe next couple of years?
That's a good question. I would say AI agents, of course, blockchain. I think it's also the perfect moment to talk about blockchain now that Trump has been elected. He wants to a lot. He wants to bring a lot of regulations, in the blockchain industry. So blockchain is definitely one of them. AI agents, anything related to AI. But again, AI will need as well to be regulated a lot. So a lot will come. Tech, but what I mean tech is like defense tech. You can say unfortunately or fortunately, but defense tech is definitely also one of them. We're going in a world where we think we need to defend ourselves more and more. Femtech, so also technology that's more and more focusing to women, to minorities as well. I would say this kind of technology.
That's an interesting approach. I dig it. But I heard that there's an opinion that many investors out there are afraid to take risk right now with young founders. So do you think that the market has become less risk oriented, or maybe it's the opposite?
No, I don't think so. Actually, quite the opposite. Are you familiar with the power law, the Pareto law?
No, unfortunately, no.
The Pareto law is it's the fact that you have 20% that control 80%, so it's 20 for 80. And the power law, it's similar, but it's for example for a VC. Let's say a VC invests in 10 companies, 6 will fail, Two will just, reimburse them, so give their money back. One will double the money and one will 100x. And that 100x will make the VC look good, because the VC will say, oh, we have a 400% return, but in reality, it's only one company that 100x, and then the rest, either they failed or they just, gave them back the money. So why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because, 80% of the funds, I would say, are afraid to take risk with big founders. But the top 20%, the top 10%, the one that really control the industry, the one that have the control, they shape the industry and they're not afraid to take risk. And also, let me tell you, a VC that's afraid to take risk is quite a paradox. It's like a swimmer being afraid of water. VC entails risk by definition. So of course, you shouldn't take uncalculated risk as a VC, but targeting more and more safe investments as a VC, for me, it doesn't really make sense. You can go to private equity.
But can you remember the cases when you took the risk and you burned straight away? So any super risky affairs that were way too risky and they turned out to be like a complete failure. Can you elaborate on that? Maybe provide some case that you remembered, and what lessons did you take from that one?
Yeah, I would say any investment we make, because just to give you some context, we invest in seed and AI, and we invest in seed, Series A, but seed is quite early. So to be honest, any company we invest in seed is already a company, I would say, that we take a lot of risk. Again, VC is equal to risk. So for me, it's really about the people. And for example, on real estate, when we decided to invest in it, the company didn't have much revenue. The company was quite small. So we took a big risk, but now it's paying off. Why? Because we believed in the founder, and when you see that the founder is great, it pays off most of the time.
And do you meet in person with founders, or do you prefer like Zoom calls, all that stuff?
Me personally, I'm in Copenhagen, so I haven't met them personally. But for example, Yotis Tonnelier, the managing partner of the fund, by the way, great guy, very nice to work with him, very professional. He's based in Miami. I'll be joining the team in Miami in a year, and
cool.
Of course he meets with them, because most of our founders at the moment, all of our founders, they're based in the US, so he meets them on a quarter based, more or less. So it's of course he does.
So okay, let's get back and talk about the popping industries that you said. The phrase that a bad company in a growing industry is way better, but how do you respond to like critics who believe that the venture capitals often deliberately overheat the market by creating like overvalued companies, so that there is plenty of them doing nothing?
Yeah, the VC industry has changed a lot. Of course, it all depends who's on your cap table and the reputation of your VC. So you have some VCs, of course, doing that, but it's not. I think it's only the minority. It's not because you have some VCs that do it, then that you have to think that everybody does it. But of course, the human being tends to do that, right? So you're right 99% of the time, but that 1% of the time you're wrong, they're gonna put against you and they're gonna say, you're wrong. But for 99% of the time, you were right. Here's the same. Most VCs are ethical. Most VCs don't do that, but some VCs do it. So then, people think, oh, they do it all the time. But it's not true. It's only a minority. And you can also say it's the big ones. So that's why people talk a lot about it. So it's mostly the big ones, but most VCs don't do it.
Okay, gotcha. And you mentioned actually that you are highly adaptable and like comfortable in international teams. You said you're moving to Miami. So what cultural differences in business have had the greatest impact on you? So let's talk about that area of investing.
Yeah, so I've talked a lot, I know a bit about that at the beginning, but let me tell you this fun story. Once there was a company, I cannot disclose the name, but they were pitching to investors. We were there because we were considering to invest in the company, and the investors they were pitching, they were from Finland. So at the beginning of the meeting, we were told that Finns don't talk much, and I knew that already because I watched Formula One, so there were some Formula One Finnish drivers, and I know that during interviews they don't talk much. And during the meeting, the Finns don't ask any questions, they don't make any comments, they don't clap at the end, nothing. So at the end they just leave, and then the startup is like, the company is like, oh no, we really messed up, they're not going to invest, they're going to pass, and they were extremely worried. A couple of weeks later, the representative representative of the company came back and said that the Finns, actually the Finnish investor, really liked the company and wanted to move to the next step. So this was really fun. It was a fun experience, and they helped me understand the difference. Because why I'm saying that, of course, I'm saying that because you can see huge difference between the Nordics and the South. In the Nordics, Finland, but also Scandinavia, Danes, Swedes, Norwegians, stuff like that. But then, for example, in Italy, it's the opposite. They could be asking like 100 questions, like, oh, they're super interested, but then they're like, nope, sorry. And so it's important to get that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I really, when you see those differences, really gets easier for you to work with people because, it's all about the people after all.
Yeah.
Maybe what is your main piece of advice for startups when we're in this area of talk? So what is your main piece of advice for startups that they want to raise their very first investment?
That's a good question. I would say, first of all, a big mistake that I make, that I see startups making is they reach the wrong VCs. So it's the first time they do it, they reach to all VCs. And that's wrong because you should reach only to the VCs. Let's say you are in fintech, pre-seed fintech. Well, you reach out to the pre-seed fintech, pre-seed VC companies that invest in fintech. Now, it seems very basic, it sounds very basic, but most founders at the beginning, what they do is they reach to any VCs thinking, oh, it's fine, whatever. They might, still be willing, but they're not. They have a thesis, the LPs, they want them to invest in a certain area. So that's what they do. So that's a big mistake that I see them making. And it's also a bigger mistake because, of course, if you send emails to everybody, if you do that, the first thing you'll do is that you lose credibility because then the VCs that are not in that industry will think that, they will talk bad about you. They're like, oh, this guy doesn't really do his real research, he's on DD. And you as a founder, you waste a lot of time because you could have spent that time to focus on the VCs that really could be interested. You lose time for your day-to-day operations. You lose time for your sales. So you waste time as well. So it's really like a lose situation. And then, hiring, I could talk about hours about that, but hiring the right people at the beginning, that's also very important. Your salespeople, hiring the right ones, be able at the beginning maybe not to give only a very low salary, but maybe some equity, motivate them with warrants and possible stock options in the future. That will say is also one of them. Your co-founder, solo founders, usually they don't perform that well. Now, of course, you have exceptions, but I'm saying in general. And then also another mistake that I see first-time founders making at the beginning is when they have a co-founder, splitting 50-50 the equity, which is a red flag for VCs because how VCs interpret that is that they see that as the founders being unable to have difficult conversations. So being unable to say, no, I have a bit more because I did more and you did this. So a 50-50 is going to be a challenge.
That's super great. Cesare, is super nice talking to you. We have a nice talk here, but unfortunately I have time for just the last question. So I want to know, what is your long-term goals as an investor? So basically, how do you want to change the industry? Because apparently there are major goals that we're setting to ourselves. Yeah,
again, it's gonna sound very cliche, but I want the world to be in a better place. Mm-hmm. Which again, I know it's super cliche. It's rare to hear the opposite. No, I want the world to be in a worse place. But I want the world to be in a better place. I want, in the end, to have innovative founders that have innovative ideas get the right funding. And for me, it's not really about money, it's really about innovation, about being able to innovate and to make sure that future generations are going to be well. They're going to to live in a world where that's sustainable, in a world that in a great world. That's my long-term goal, being able to finance, to invest in opportunities that will make future generations better off.
Yeah. Well, that's a great ending point, Cesare. It was super nice talking to you. We had a pleasant talk, and wish you the best of luck. And guys, that was Cesare Pesci at YOBE Ventures. And you want to go in contact and learn more about our guests, just feel free to get in the description and find all the links. So yeah, that's basically a wrap. Thank you, Cesare, it was nice having you. Wish you the best of luck this year and the next one. So yeah, super great, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.